not. Let's try to expand as much as we can onto as many platforms as possible. Well, here we are. Good morning, and an amazing morning to everybody, and welcome to the Freedom Coffee live stream, where we celebrate the freedoms that we have and we've been able to maintain over the long term, and we talk about ideas how to expand those freedoms into the future, like we did with the Freedom Convoy. You'll notice, for those of you who watch me somewhat regularly, whenever I can regularly do these things, the set's a little different, or at least my location is a little different. I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. Before we do, please like, share, subscribe, distribute this to all your friends or my enemies, whatever. Send it to them. I love getting the hate from the trolls who we make crazy. I hope you have your freedom coffee. My freedom coffee today is courtesy of Dunkin' Donuts. That's not an endorsement. It's not the greatest coffee, but it's better than Starbucks. I'm sorry, Americans. I love you guys, but you really don't know anything about coffee. So, a sip to all of you and a toast to all of you. And thank you for all your love and support. I heard Toronto was underwater and was completely flooded out because of a rainstorm. And I guess from what I hear, the climate alarmist or the climate cult, whatever you want to call it, is doing the meme of, oh, no climate change. Look at all this rain. You know what they used to do on the other side? It's like they've become a meme of themselves. It's really quite fascinating. But anyways, Canadian Bella, good morning. Long time no see. I hope you are well. I know you've been off social media for a little bit, but I'm glad to have you. Here. I hope nobody was flying yesterday. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes, which explains my predicament right here. Edge, it's good to see you too. And anyways, before we get into the hot topics, I just wanted to ask any of you, and maybe give a suggestion. Have any of you tried having a conversation with any of these AI programs or AI platforms? I've been doing it a lot lately, and I got to tell you, it's really good. It's really good. It's really convincing. It's, at this point, ChatGPT itself, it's becoming like my new search engine. And I'm thinking, like, what is Google gonna do? And a part of it is, like, I have it linked to a shortcut. So when I'm on the road and I'm in the truck and I'm just thinking about different ideas, things I need to understand that for other projects I'm working on, I have a little shortcut on my screen. So just tap the shortcut and I'll start talking to ChatGPT while I'm on the road. And I got to tell you, it's amazing. It really is awesome. I know a lot of people are kind of apprehensive of new technology. Give it a shot. I'm telling you, don't fear technology. I really encourage all of you to do it. It's really quite fascinating and amazing. We're going to talk more about that in upcoming streams. So yesterday, flights were grounded yesterday. So I was at Fort Lauderdale Airport. I was supposed to be on a plane yesterday, and you see the weakness of our system. And it's not because of technology. It's because of what I'm going to talk about in a second, the single point of failure. And I arrived at Fort Lauderdale Airport, and it looked like a scene from some sort of apocalypse. There were tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, I don't know, of people in that airport crammed on the inside. And then there were mobs around the outside of the terminal trying to get in. I managed to sneak in through one of the end doors in terminal, I don't know which one it was, terminal 4 or terminal 2, whichever one it was, and managed to go up to a state trooper who was there, saying that, no, we got to take elevators, go up here, whatever. Got to my airline, not on the inside of the terminal, at the door to enter the terminal and for the departures, and they weren't letting people in. and they explained that all, well, actually, as we were talking to her, the announcement came through that all international flights had been canceled. So I'm supposed to be at a wedding right now in Colombia that I have missed. So I just missed my best friend's wedding because the only follow-up, the only rescheduled departure they could give me was Monday, and they're only going to be at the resort until Monday. So it is what it is. And so, anyways, these things happen, and what are you going to do? It seems to be that CrowdStrike, which is a security company dealing within the Microsoft ecosystem for large corporations, their job is to prevent any massive network outages. So in trying to prevent it, they caused it. It's really kind of great. And it happened. Listen, these things happened. There was apparently a bug in the system update, and it basically knocked out the entire world. Now, this is where I say don't be afraid of technology. And you're thinking, well, what do you mean? Why not? Well, look what it just did yesterday. I'm going to give you a quote from Cynthia Lummis, who is the senator for Wyoming, former state treasurer, and that's where she discovered the Bitcoin protocol. And Wyoming said, Cynthia Lummis said, do you know what form of currency hasn't been affected by widespread outages? Bitcoin. And this is where I know a lot of people who still are struggling to understand, still trying to learn a little bit. It's not a coin. It's not a coin. It is a protocol. It is a network. So the Microsoft network, that is where the security was subcontracted to contracted to CrowdStrike, had a single point of failure, right? I know a computer programmer is going crazy right now, and they're saying, no, it's because of just let me just speak about this from an analogy perspective for regular people, right? So one piece of software was uploaded to by CrowdStrike, and it wiped out the entire network, right? With Bitcoin, you have a distributed network. You have distributed across miners and nodes all over the world. So the ledger, if there's something that is input into the system that is not accepted by the rest of the system, then boom, it gets canceled out. Now, we know it's a software engineers, calm down. I'm just trying to explain it to a way so regular people can understand the difference between having a centralized network and a distributed network. And this is the difference between a CBDC, central bank digital currency, remember, central, versus Bitcoin. So a central bank digital currency has a central single point of failure that can fail in exactly the same way as what we saw with these flights, with all these flights that were canceled on banks and all this disruption yesterday. That can't happen with Bitcoin. Okay, now that's a broad statement. There is some nuance to that. But in general, that's how I want you to understand what Bitcoin is. Distributed network versus what we saw with the CrowdStrike and Microsoft network, where it was taken down by one small update in code. Imagine if that was a hacker, which is what everybody thought it was. So everybody had thought a hacker got into the system and crashed it, right? A hacker can't get into the system of Bitcoin, which is my point. You can't get into a distributed network because if you try to introduce something, it gets rejected by all the other nodes, which is why the Bitcoin protocol is not a coin. It's a protocol and a distributed network that stores your value that is protected against things like this. So good morning, Jesse and Rocky. Rocky is awesome. Good morning, Rocky. Rocky is my #1 fan in the animal kingdom, it seems. So anyways, that was yesterday at the Fort Lauderdale airport. It was really crazy. I've never seen. It reminds me of what you heard about what was going on during 9/11. The amount of people that were stranded, it was crazy. But You know, I'm now not in Colombia. I am in Florida, and hey, there's worse places to be stranded than Florida. And I know a bunch of you don't like the Florida heat. Cool. I love the Florida summer heat, and I couldn't be happier, to be entirely honest, except for the fact that I'm missing Mike's wedding. So that really sucks. I'm going to figure out when to go to Colombia sometime soon. All right. And hugs to all of you too, to Jesse and Edge, Bella, and all you guys. All right, let's talk about what's been going on over the past week, couple of weeks. Well, yeah, it's a week. It's actually a week today, I believe. Do you feel like the new paradigm has started? And I'm talking about Trump's speech and everything led up to his speech at the RNC. I'm not going to speculate right now on the assassination attempt. There's many people doing that all over the internet, and there's people who are legitimately gathering information on this and trying to put things together in a legitimate way, not the BS way. So, like Kyle Becker, Colin Rugg, there's two good accounts to follow on Twitter /X as they're trying to put things together. I learned a long time ago not to jump to conclusions with these things, and the best asset you have is time. Just give it time. Let things go, and over time, people will put things together. You'll be able to put things together and get some sense of what really went on. You don't want to be Alex Jones. Like Alex Jones, oh my God, guy makes me crazy. The day of, like a few hours after the assassination, this is why so many people hate Alex Jones. The day of the assassination attempt, he goes out running his mouth on bullshit, just like he did, by the way, during the Freedom Convoy, because InfoWars ran a hit piece on me in the very early days of the Freedom Convoy, knowing nothing about me, knowing absolutely nothing. They didn't call me, they didn't contact me for any inquiries, nothing. They just went out there and started to smear, running their mouth with BS, right? And the same thing was happening here. It's so frustrating. So that's why I have no love for Alex Jones, and I think he is anybody who thinks he is the oracle is not paying attention to all the things he's gotten wrong many, many times. But anyways, forget that stuff. Let's talk about where we are right now. Have you noticed that there is this paradigm shift, that so much is resting on the shoulders of Trump and on America and this election? Like, think about it. It's like we've decided collectively, as a society broadly, this is going to be the two paths that we're going to be able to choose. Are we going to continue down the path of chaos, or are we going to have what Klaus Schwab called a reset? And isn't it ironic that it seems to be we are going to have some sort of reset, but not in the way Klaus Schwab wanted, not in the way that the global, I don't call them elite, the global cartel, not in the way that the global cartel wants. That we actually have somebody on the side of all this anti-collectivist worldview that's bringing in its own reset to bring us back to this sort of state of objectivity, some nuance there, but objectivity without the victimization narrative, the collectivist narrative, all that sort of stuff. And one of the points that really drove it home for me was Hulk Hogan at the RNC. Did you see Hulk Hogan at the RNC? I thought to myself, what a brilliant form of nostalgic fan service. Because I think everybody in that room, if you look at the age demographics, everybody in that room felt a sense of nostalgia. Because back in the heyday, in the 80s and I guess 90s as well, WWF wrestling, it was called back then, all of us were into it. It was a ubiquitous form of entertainment. And Hulk Hogan was the quintessential American good guy. Always had the American flag, always was kind of in that ethos of freedom and goodness. Like that was the brand of the character Hulk Hogan in WWF, right? That we're all going to stick together. We all have the right to freedom. And all of those, some say the cheesy ideas of what America is, that was all culminated in what the brand of Hulk Hogan was. It was absolutely brilliant. And I think everybody in that room, except for people maybe, the Generation Z, but everybody in Generation X, older, and even some millennials understood that Hulk Hogan was that symbol of optimism and freedom and positivity through entertainment, right? Like Andre the Giant was the bad guy, Hulk Hogan was the good guy. That's why Hulk Hogan always won. That's right. It's stage. It's as fake as our politics sometimes, actually, right? And what was the response from the swamp and the media to this nostalgic symbol of freedom and Americanism? What was their response? Notice they attacked him. Oh, look at this. There's all these clips on legacy media of him tearing the shirt off, trying to infer that this is unhinged or this is violent or it's scary. It's Hulk Hogan. It's the good guy. And everybody understood that, that saw that there. They knew that. They understood it because they've experienced it as a child. But that's how disconnected the swamp and the bureaucrats are from regular people and the life experiences of regular people. This is the danger of having people that are in power who have zero sense of humor. They don't understand how to laugh. They don't understand how to where the goodness comes from. They don't understand what entertainment is, right? Because everything is always serious. One point is, okay. Sorry, Jesse. I'll get to your comments after. Anyways, so I think as much as the media wants to take that picture of him pulling his shirt apart to try to scare the normie, well, not even the normies. That's the thing. The normies understand what WWF wrestling is because they experienced it. They grew up with it, right? But trying to scare anybody who, I don't know, has been collectively brainwashed by the bureaucrats and try to scare them, right? The useful idiots working on behalf of, unknowingly, the Red Green Alliance that's destroying America. And I thought it was great. So Trump's speech itself, you noticed he was less aggressive. He was more measured. He didn't call out people by name so much like he usually does, like a little bit here and there, but in general, he wasn't as aggressive. It was a more unifying tone. But boy, was it chilling. And I would never say that he's a great persuader because he gets that from sales, but I wouldn't say he's an emotional communicator, right? He's not somebody who brings you normally into a situation and lets you feel the emotion of it. Like, that's not what his strength is. His strength is on the persuasion side. However, he did manage to achieve that this time when he went through the experience of an attempted assassination and lived to tell it. It was quite chilling. And I think it doesn't matter where you are on the political spectrum. If you were watching that, you felt that experience that he went through. And I think there's something else. I think we also felt the experiences of other people who didn't survive. How many people were watching that and thinking subconsciously in the back of their minds, what was the situation around JFK? What would he have said had he survived? What would he have felt? So I think it was very, very impactful. But I think this is part of the reason this is the new shift to the new paradigm. And one of the things, by the way, I think was really at the forefront of that was the Freedom Convoy. That was the stop of the old paradigm And then we're in a little bit of limbo for a couple of years. And now we're shifting to the new paradigm. Because unlike previous assassination attempts, with the exclusion of Reagan, that's a little bit different. I'll get into that afterwards. But let's take the assassination that all of us know about, which is JFK and RFK, those two assassinations. Unlike those two previous assassinations, this time he survived. He survived to tell the story. And more importantly, he's going to be back in office. I think that's a foregone conclusion at this point when you see all of Silicon or most of Silicon Valley is starting to shift. All the people who might have supported Trump in the past but were afraid to say something, like Hulk Hogan, have decided, screw it. This is who I'm voting for. If you want to come after me, go ahead. Everybody's getting the martyr syndrome that if you want to attack me, you can go ahead and attack me, but I'm not changing my mind. So he's going to be back in office having survived an assassination attempt. And I don't think this will be tried again because this is blowing up in their faces massively. It's shocking that there's no, I think we all understand that it's not just some 20-year-old kid. Maybe some 20-year-old kid was radicalized by the media, but someone got a hold of him. And there's some sort of infrastructure. Is it internal in government or external of government? I don't know. Organized crime, IRGC, who knows what it is. But somebody got a hold of him and decided, in the era where there's thousands of cameras around every situation, in every moment of history, they're going to try and pull this nonsense. It's not the 1960s. Like, everybody has the ability to broadcast all over the world in their pocket. You're not going to get away with this crap anymore, right? And I think what this has done is, they're not going to, for that reason, because all of this is blowing up in the faces of those who are responsible for preventing it. I don't think there's going to be another attempt, and God, I hope so. I think we all understand that at this point. But I think because he's going to be back in office, this is the opportunity that generations of Americans want to close the loop on what happened in previous assassinations. Do you think Donald Trump is going to now hesitate to release the JFK files? That would be ridiculous. Because in those files, I'm sure, has everything he needs to point to say, this is what was done to me, and I'm not the only one, because he survived. Because he's going to be able to get revenge against the people who do this to all Americans, right? Who do this to your society. That's a massive opportunity. So I think you may see some shift on that. And also, it would give Donald Trump massive credibility in pushing back against whatever hoax that's going to be set up to try to defame and discredit him, the next Russia hoax or whatever it is. He can point to, stop with your hoax nonsense. They tried to assassinate me the exact same way they've assassinated previous presidents, and here's the documents to prove it. That's going to have a chill effect on the fake news legacy media if they try to promulgate any further hoaxes against him. And it'll give Trump the credibility he needs to push back against it, no matter where people are on the political spectrum. Because remember, JFK was a Democrat, right? So this happens across the political spectrum. So I really do hope Trump has some sort of plan, whether it's releasing JFK files, appointing a special prosecutor, to really go after the part of the infrastructure, because government is not one, it's not just one entity. It's many, many factions of there's like 8 million people that work for the federal government in the United States. And there's many people, I'm sure, that are on his side as well. but it allows many of us, if you're the baby boomer generation who lived through the JFK assassination, and for them it was a very emotional event. Well, it allow you to have somebody now to try to seek retribution and get to the truth on that event. And I think that that appetite for truth to close the loop transcends both political parties, or all political parties, right? So how's the government responded? How's the government responded to this? Well, um, we'll call it Biden's Secret Service, even though that's not entirely accurate. But yeah, he's in office. Okay, fine. Is how it was framed. I don't like this framing, but whatever. Biden's Secret Service has denied a FOIA request, so Freedom of Information Access request, made by America First Legal following the assassination attempt. So they just denied it. They filed a FOIA request with the Secret Service, and the Secret Service says, no. No. What do you mean, no? No, that's not how it works. It's a FOIA. You respond to it. And they decided, no, so that's not going to, I don't think that's going to stop. That will continue. But the Secret Service explanation from the diversity hire who worked for something like, she worked for PepsiCo or something like that. She has no background in security. She has background as an executive running a beverage company. What could go wrong, right? There's your example of how DEI kills, right? Or almost killed. So the Secret Service claims there's no urgency, and it denied the America public its right to know what's going on. That's how America First framed it. So again, I suggested before when I started, check out on X, Colin Rugg and Kyle Becker. They're doing a great job getting this stuff out and trying to put the pieces together. And clearly lots of people are reaching out to them and sharing information, and whistleblowers are sharing info and all that stuff. And Joe Biden's response was, I'm going to quote here. That was Joe Biden's response. All right. Yes, Toronto was flooded again due to rain. This is not new at all. It's not new news. Yeah, it happens all the time because I live in close to the Don Valley, the river that goes to the Lake Ontario. And every year, just about, there's always been massive flooding since I was a kid. Maybe not every year, but every few years, whatever. Seems to be cyclical in nature. And the Don Valley gets flooded out. So when I saw those pictures, I thought, oh, I've seen those before. But yeah, I heard it was pretty bad, but I was already down here in Florida, which, sometimes has their own stuff. Jesse, are you criticizing Hulk Hogan? Is that what you're saying? I bet you Rocky likes Hulk Hogan. So I don't know. Hulk Hogan was awesome. He is the best. Any pictures from Fort Lauderdale, Edge? Sure, I can take some pictures. I mean, for me, I've been going here my whole life. So for me, it's coming down here, see friends, hang out, spend some time and whatever. But sure, I can take some pictures. I'll post them up on X and send them to you. I might be meeting with some friends tonight. So if I do, we're gonna go, I think, out for drinks somewhere. If we do, I will let you know. All right. The other thing I mentioned in the title is future-proofing yourself. Now this, to pivot to something completely different, I mentioned when we started utilizing ChatGPT as a search engine, talking to ChatGPT, asking its things, it's anything that's in Wikipedia, for example, or in a database of historical information in the internet, it's great for because it can access it. Doesn't mean, I'm not saying what you read in Wikipedia is accurate, because we all know Wikipedia's got some problems, but it's a good way to, you want to ask something about history in general, have that conversation with ChatGPT, right? I think Scott mentioned he's using ChatGPT instead of YouTube videos. Now, the type of YouTube videos I watch, I don't know if that would be able to replace it, but I take his point. So that's something to consider in terms of a resource of information. But here's my point. This is my argument, what I'm getting to. I don't know if any of you know what an API is. So an API is an acronym for Application Program Interface. And APIs are like when you go to, I don't know, a website, and you know how they have a, let's say a Twitter or Facebook link at the bottom of the article, and you press that, and it then opens up your Twitter or Facebook and allows you to post it. That's an API. Okay. So you may be using them already and not realizing it. So I've been doing a lot utilizing APIs on my infrastructure in the hopes for greater automation. Everybody asks me why am I always able to do so many things? You know, run a couple of podcasts or a few podcasts, drive the truck, do my political stuff, schedule my, when I go around and speak in different events and all that sort of stuff. It's because I do a lot of automation and organizational structure and systemization and all that sort of stuff. All right. So if there's two equivalents, or they're very similar for if you're in the iPhone ecosystem or if you're in the Android ecosystem. And I have both. So because I have both, I use both. On Apple, when Workflow was purchased, it's an application now called Shortcuts. And on Android, and this is available on both Android and Apple as well, there's a program called IFTTT, which is if this, then that. I really suggest all of us start to utilize these very, very powerful applications that basically you're scripting your own API essentially for your own life. The reason is, the reason I'm trying to learn this is just because I see how AI is evolving, and that at some point AI is going to be in my phone. And if I have a proper system within my infrastructure and everything organized and certain APIs that will merge information from one platform to another, and I have it systematized, well, then I can hand off those duties to an AI and have it do it for me. That's kind of where I'm going with this. I don't know if that's exactly how it'll evolve, but I have a feeling that's how it'll evolve, right? It's going to take time. We're still a couple of years away from that, but we're getting really, the ball's moving very quickly in this domain. But this is kind of my hedge on, instead of being afraid of AI and getting lost in AI, is why don't I automate my infrastructure so that an AI can understand how I do things and do them for me. That's kind of the hedge. It's not just about convenience, it's about understanding it, right? And if you have enough automation, it almost becomes like a secondary digital assistant that can work with your assistant or other people or that sort of stuff. And then you also have robots coming down the pipeline, right? There's not just the Tesla robot, there's other robots that are already on the market. There's that Chinese one, I can't remember what it is. Yeah, I know it's China. I would never buy it either, but it's $14,000. It's basically like a 4-foot tall human form looking thing that you can program it to do anything. Wish I could program it to drive my truck. Maybe that's around the pipeline. I don't know. But now is the time to learn the APIs, learn shortcuts and if this and that, and learn the basics of AI at the very beginning stages, just like I learned programming, but utilization of a PET emulator and a Commodore 64 and then DOS. So when I'm utilizing a computer, I kind of understand the basic layers of how it operates. Same sort of thing. Because something that's infuriated me, it's so frustrating in politics, for the 10 years since I've gotten involved in politics, either directly involved or just kind of tangentially helping some people within politics, which is kind of what I do now. I guess I'm never going to run for office, but I want to help good people as much as I can, right? What's really frustrating amongst the people in the political class, well, not the political class, but who are working within politics or activists that are working within different ecosystems, like Bitcoin is one of them, but this wouldn't apply to Bitcoin. But people who are activists on a whole bunch of different issues that I align with and agree with, is I would explain a series of actions and options and things they can do in terms of messaging strategies, and platforms that could be used to get information out. Now I'm going out back several years, but we have these meetings and explain, well, if you want to get people on board with A, B, and C, go to, go to these subreddits on Reddit. You'll find people that would be amicable to this issue, sort of thing, right? And I would always get the same response from people, and it was so frustrating. I would lead them down the path. I would give them a whole series of things of what to do, how it could, how you could further your message and your initiative. And this is always from conservatives. I always get this: oh, well, I'm just not good with computers. For me, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Because I understand, I'm sympathetic to that. However, for me, when I hear I'm just not good with computers, you know what I hear? I just haven't put in the work to learn how this works. We can all learn anything. Like how did I don't know, last car, what's the last big job I've done on a car? I mean, I've done so much work on cars. I've replaced turbos and obviously brakes and regular maintenance and all that sort of stuff. How did I learn how to fix cars? Well, there's a little thing called YouTube or the internet, and you can search it and you can watch somebody doing it. Or prior to YouTube, you could read about what were the instructions of doing this service on a car, or this sort of maintenance on a car, right? It's the same with computers. It's not, we all want to press one button. We press that button and we understand everything. And it's just not the case. You need to understand and evolve and learn over time how things work. It's the same way with technology and with computers. And here we are, right at this opportunity where these API apps, which are a few years old, Workflow was out for a few years, but really Shortcuts came out, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, same as IFTTT, same sort of thing. We're really kind of at the beginning where you can understand how information flows within an API structure, learn it at the ground level. AI is brand new. We're really at the ground level where you can learn how to utilize AI. Now's the time to learn, as everybody's learning together, because few people are experts. So it's the time for everybody to learn. Get on board now and understand these things, because that is what will future-proof yourself for the future, right? Like with those people, when they would say, oh, I don't know much about computers. You've had computers your whole life. Like, yeah, but I didn't know everything. I got to learn things. I still have to learn new things. And there's still lots of things within tech and computers I don't know. So more I don't know than I do know, right? But I'm always trying to learn this stuff. Right now, it's kind of the golden age of opportunities to learn how to implement APIs and AI into your life. And we're all on an even plane, because nobody understands where this is going, and few people understand how it works. So now's the time. And if you have ever said to anyone, I don't care about your age demographic, if you have ever said, I'm not good with computers, great. Now's your opportunity, because everything in computing is about to change. So get out on the ground level, future-proof yourself, start with APIs. The best way is, because it's Shortcuts and IFTTT is kind of like APIs for dummies, because you're not using Apple script or whatever script is being used. You don't have to be a programmer. But even for me, it's a brain exercise. You're merging new neural pathways. I'm still learning it. When I started with utilizing Shortcuts, I'm like, I don't get it. I didn't understand it, and I maybe, I don't know, 40% of the way there. But now I'm using it. I'm programming simple APIs, downloading other people's APIs, customizing them for myself. And yeah, 50% of the time it doesn't work. That's how I learn. I rejig it, it doesn't work, and then I try to figure out, okay, what I do wrong. It's got to be me, and it always is, right? It's always the user problem. But I encourage everybody, now is the time, please. You don't want to be trapped 5-10 years from now where you say, oh, I don't know much about AI. I don't know much about APIs. Well, now's your time. So future-proof yourself, please. I promise you will maybe not thank me for it, but you'll feel much more secure in the future. So I like to end off with, positive points and some white pills for everybody. And, during this period of time where you saw this assassination attempt on Trump, I think it affected all of us emotionally. And I think it even affected people on the left even more emotionally. Because I think some of those people started to think, wait, are we the bad guys? Not everybody, but some of them did start to question that. And that's a humbling experience. Much like I think it was a humbling experience for Trump himself. And that's why you saw a more measured tone in his speech. Because here is the opportunity for us to, all of us, to dial down the rhetoric and try to unify. Now, the only people who don't are the mentally ill lunatics in the legacy media. Whether that's, what's that girl's name? The mental ill one. Joy Reid, I think. It's U.S. News, NBC or something. NBC, one of the NBC ones. Those people are mentally ill. Those people should be, to quote Christopher Hitchens, standing at a street corner, yelling at passers-by, selling pens out of a cup. That's what Joy Reid should be doing, right? The rest of us, this is the time, much like during the Freedom Convoy, where we have this window we can start to unify with each other and tone down the rhetoric and realize that, look, Orange Man's going to be your president again. He's been humbled by the experience. Why don't we all just kind of figure out how to make the world a little bit better? And yeah, there's always going to be policies and ideas you dislike. That's just the way life is. We never get 100% of what we want, right? But hopefully we can all compromise to get most of what we want. And I think we're right on the edge of that. So that is something for me to be optimistic about in the future. And then at the same time, like, this is that whole reframing exercise where my flight to Colombia was canceled, and I missed my friend's wedding, which I'm missing right now. Yeah, it really sucks. First world problems, right? First world problems. If that is the worst thing going on in our lives, boy, are we lucky. Really, we are really living in the best era of civilization. If that's the worst thing that's going on in our lives, that some flights were canceled. Because remember, previous generations, to travel that far would have taken months of their lives and would have been at significant risk to their lives to do so. Whereas today, we just hop on a flight, show a QR code on our phone, and 3 hours later, we're there. So let's remember how easy it is for us and appreciate how easy it is for us. And then the last thing is I often hear people, had a conversation with a friend about this the other day, that, oh, it's the end of the American empire and everything's collapsing. I don't think so. You see the analogies, oh, it's just like the fall of Rome. What are you talking about? Like, Rome existed, if you take both the Eastern and Western Roman Empire, for 2,000 years. It took 500 years for the Western Roman Empire to collapse. I think America in the age of freedom is currently just ascending. Now, we're seeing bumps in the road, right? As technology gives some bad people the opportunity to restrict our freedoms, but we're also getting pushback, because that's the experience of, that's a human experience. There's always going to be pushback, right? So, okay, there's always going to be bumps in the road, but I think the age of freedom is not in dissension. I think it's still in ascension. And if you look at the world from that frame, I don't know. For me, it's really not all that bad. And listen, yeah, there's injustices. You know, Enrico Tarria, who's in jail for 22 years. Think maybe Trump might do something to help him if he was targeted with the same sort of lawfare that Trump was targeted with and everybody else who was targeted. So I think we're at the end of that. And I think we're all deciding, people across the political spectrum are deciding the harshness and the cruelty needs to end. And as long as everybody's getting on board with that, and yeah, it takes time to get there, then things are going to be amazing in the future. And pair that with advances of technology, things are going to be great. And I'm not oblivious to the fact of, the technocratic surveillance and all that. I'm concerned about that too. And I think we'll address that, and we'll find tools to address that. And maybe the first tool is to get somebody to counteract that in office. And I think that's why the new paradigm hinges, and we've all decided it's going to hinge on this US election, which will have ripple effects around the entire world, right? Let's not be blind to the fact that the United States governs the world, right? Bretton Woods, they got the what's it called? They got the global reserve currency, but in order to do that, they had to sacrifice something, which is they had to keep all the international waterways and seaports free and open for trade. All right, well, that's why they engage all over the world, because that's their obligation. Is it so bad? I don't know. I look at how the world has changed over the past couple of generations, or the last 100 years. I think the world's better, despite all its problems and bumps in the road. Remember, QR code on a phone, and you're across the planet in a few hours. Things are great. And I think they're going to get even better. Anyways, I'm going to shut it down there. And I will maybe I'll do another stream from Florida before I leave if I can. Please like, share, subscribe. If you're on locals, I've told you we're going to be doing some local specific content probably towards the end of the summer. I got to get another project launch first, and then we'll start doing that. That's also a way to support me. I have a Substack I'm working on. I'm going to try to get out tonight or tomorrow, related to this topic and some other topics. That's bjdichter.substack.com. Please join, comment, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, locals as well. And I may see you on a Twitter space either later on today or tomorrow. But whatever you do, please be good to people, be good to strangers. Your subconscious is always watching you. And if you're good to people, then your life is going to be massively improved. All right. I think I'm going to shut it down there. I'm going to shut down the main